Think about this. How many times have you moved? Twice? Maybe 3 times or more. You may have never moved to a new place, or maybe you're used to moving to lots of new places. As a kid, I grew up in the same city from day 1 until 19 years old. Then I graduated high school and moved to Columbus to become a Buckeye at Ohio State. After that, I moved to South Dakota, and finally I moved to Fairleigh, Vermont. I've moved around a lot, and when a person moves to a new place, this is called human movement. People leave places for all sorts of reasons. Maybe there's not enough jobs. They may be worried about diseases. They may be worried about violence or war, or they could try to be getting away from a natural disaster. When a person leaves a place for any reason, it is called push movement. Notice that push factors make people want to leave. There are 4 push factors: environmental, social, economic, and political. An environmental factor has anything to do with the environment, including weather, people's health, nature, and the conditions of a neighborhood or a home. Social involves people's relationships. Think family, friends, but also how people are treated. Economic is all about the money. This includes jobs and how much people are paid. Lastly, political, which is all about government and laws. This includes people's ability to vote, wars or conflicts, and how the local or national government treat people, or even just groups of people. These 4 factors can cause people to leave a place. Let's take a closer look at current events to see if we can find each push factor. Just doing a quick search, we can find an article from the New York Times. Extreme weather displaced a record 7 million in first half of 2019. Here, displaced means people leaving. So, what movement factor is this? Our first clue is extreme weather, and we know weather has to do with the environment. So we can easily say this push factor is environmental. Our next article from the Smithsonian Magazine is a little bit more tricky. The long-lasting legacy of the Great Migration. When millions of African Americans fled the South in search of a better life, they remade the nation in ways that are still being felt. We have to dig a little bit deeper to find the movement factors. If we read a little deeper, we can find more than just one factor. But quotes that stand out are those about a fight for racial justice and Jim Crow, which were the unfair laws made to take away the rights and dignity of people of color. Now we need to think of what movement factor has to do with unfair laws, how the government treats certain people, and justice in a community. What stands out is a political factor. Our next article is from NPR. It's a little easier. Leaving Japan, nuclear fears send Americans packing. While fear can fit into different factors, we learn that people are afraid that they can't protect their family. In the article, people leaving Japan bring up moving their pets and wanting to protect their children, so they're moving back to the United States. Fear is often linked to family, relationships, and how people are treated. So, what factor for movement fits into this? If you said social factors, you're correct. Okay. Lastly, we'll take a look at an article from The Atlantic, Fleeing Venezuela's Crushing Economic Crisis. By just looking at it, you're correct to say that people are leaving for economic reasons. Even in the description of the article, we see hyperinflation, rationing, shortages of power, water, and medicine, low wages, lack of jobs, and years of worsening crisis have driven hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans to leave their ailing country behind. This clearly shows that this should be an economic factor causing people to move. As we wrap up the video, consider the fact that people can be pushed to leave because of one or more factors. They could leave because of environmental and social factors, or social and economic, or they could leave because of all 4 environmental, social, economic, and political factors. In this video, we learned that people moving is called human movement, that when people are pushed in movement, they are leaving. Then there are 4 push factors: political, environmental, social, and economic. A good way to remember these 4 factors is through the acronym PEAS. As in, don't leave peas on your plate, or when you need to leave somewhere because you gotta go peas. If you have any questions about push factors and human movement, feel free to email me. And tomorrow we'll take a closer look at pull factors that make people want to come to a place.